Let's get some food in us and then we'll... Whoa! Where did you come from?
Well, as you can see, I am merely sitting here and reviewing what we have deduced thus far.
You were gone for ages, and now you're suddenly sitting here musing to yourself? Where have you been anyway? Hey, what's with the silence?
You never think things through before asking questions. I'm giving you some time to make up for that.
Paimon's so mad! Paimon's gonna give you an ugly nickname! Never mind. Paimon's got nothing. There's just nothing super obvious to pick with this guy. It makes it so hard.
Well, you've heard nothing to suggest I left this whole time, so clearly I stayed in the village to investigate. Anyway, you plan to leave Aru village and keep searching for the truth of this matter, yes?
Yep. We're not gonna find out anything more by staying here, so we thought that we might as well take the search elsewhere. Enough with the silent treatment!
No. I'm just surprised that you decided to team up with him.
Alhaitham, you haven't helped us out at all ever since we arrived at Aru village. Bold of you to question our choices.
Yeah, you're all talk.
While you were investigating, I had my own work to do, which I've now finished.
Really? Paimon doesn't believe you.
To be honest, we aren't really a team, so I have no obligation to inform you of my whereabouts. Not to mention that going separate ways allowed me to find some important information that you all had missed.
Huh? Right here in the village?
Correct.
What did you learn?
I'm going to take you to someone. But before that, you need to understand where she's coming from.
What does that mean?
How do you think the residents of Aru village feel about what we're doing? In other words, do you truly believe every single word the villagers tell us?
You mean some of them lied to us?
Hiding the truth does not necessarily equate to lying. Again, these people have their reasons. Remember what Gandis said? Most people in Aru village don't necessarily care which deity is in charge of Sumeru. That's because whether the Scarlet King or the Dendro Archon has power is of little significance to them. By contrast, the perils of their daily lives are ever-present concerns. They won't simply share everything they know with you without good reason. That's why you believed there was no further information to be found in this village. Glad you're following along. Among those you have talked to, there's someone who was consciously keeping you out of the loop. In fact, she's been observing your every move since you arrived. The reason being, to someone who only wants to live their life in peace, any external factors introduce unpredictability into the equation.
Those eyes, those fierce eyes. You look like a real fighter.
Don't change the subject.
It's quite obvious that she's intimidated by Sino's authority and strength.
Right. You were asking about the the mad scholars.
She corrected herself mid-sentence because she's aware that there are Scarlet King fanatics in the village. If she sounds too friendly towards the village keepers, she could easily make herself the Radicals' next target.
I think it's been a few days since I last saw them. I usually go to bed pretty early, so I'm not too familiar with what goes on at night.
Remember? She made a point of denying her involvement in anything that occurs at night.
But honestly, I feel quite sympathetic towards them. Even though they act a little strange, they've helped me in the past. If it weren't for them, my house would have collapsed long ago.
After speaking to the village chief, it became clear that the village keepers had protected Aru village at night. In other words, the young miss was very much awake during that time.
Then why would she lie?
By getting involved with an outsider, she risks drawing unwanted attention to herself. As for why she might be so wary about all this, maybe you should ask her.
I'll pass on this one. You said that she is afraid of me. If so, it's best if I stay out of this.
We're on it!
Miss Shawnee, as we discussed earlier, I've brought someone with me.
Mr. Alhaitham, I'm aware of where you stand, but how can I make sure that your friends think the same as you?
Huh? What do you mean? We need to clarify our stance or something?
Go ahead and talk to her. You'll get the answers you want. Go on. Earn her trust.
Is it really that simple?
May I call you Traveler? Hi, Traveler. I want to ask you something. Do you think the resurrection of the Scarlet King can truly change Sumeru for the better? Why's that? That's very similar to what Miss Candace says. I know you two are friends. That's why I'm willing to talk to you, even though I do have some reservations. Before, I wouldn't even have the courage to ask something like this. Traveler, do you believe our lives will get better?
Yeah! We came here from another nation, so it isn't wrong of you to be weary. And we aren't really residents of any one nation. But even so, we've met lots of people from different places, and we've always fought for what we believed in. We have friends in Sumeru, and we want to help them. That's why we decided to stay here for a while.
I want to trust you. My apologies for posing my questions like that. To be honest, I didn't expect you to come back for more information.
Alhaitham told us you have your reasons. It's okay. We understand.
The fact is that only one side of my family is desert folk. I don't really fit in anywhere in Sumeru. Some believe in the Dendro Archon, while others believe in the Scarlet King. I don't belong to either side, and neither side would want me.
Speaking of which, the Radicals mentioned that they despise traitors. Do they just think that anyone who's different from them is a traitor?
Yeah. Some people can be so narrow-minded when it comes to bloodline and beliefs. It makes no difference what I say or how I behave. I'll always be suspected of having ulterior motives. Slowly, I just stopped talking to people. I pretended not to hear or see anything. All I want is to live my life in peace. And then it happened. The village keepers who had helped me disappeared with no explanation, and I didn't dare breathe a word about it to anyone. Until now.
You can tell them. I'm sure she'll keep your secret.
All right. I'll tell you what I told Alhaitham. I actually have a sharper sense of hearing than most. Sometimes, I hear strange crying sounds in the night. Perhaps. I'm not sure. It's faint, but it's definitely the sound of crying. It comes from far away in the distance, and always carries very raw emotion. It used to be louder and more frequent, but ever since you arrived in the village, it doesn't seem to happen as often, and when it does, it's much quieter. I have to focus really hard to make it out.
I confirmed this with the guards on night duty. They also have someone with a good ear, and he's heard similar sounds at night. But, because we're in the middle of a desert, he would rather believe that they are the cries of beasts than ghosts.
There's really nothing around these parts, except for an old hospital not far from the village.
I think they used to use it for treating Eleazar, but it's been abandoned for years.